Hello, friends. I'm in a interesting mood today. Hopefully you are too. I know you would think you would have thought that I would have gotten this maybe a bit more organized before I hit that start button, but I didn't. And now I'm just kind of we're organizing on the fly these days because I think over the past few days our world has shifted and kind of we're just attempting to find our footing while Mercury is in retrograde. So I can only say to you with a deep level of sincerity, best of luck. Yeah. And I'm not going to offer my luck to you because my luck has been not the best of luck as far as I'm concerned. Just kind of today. Today has been a scramble. I've been in scramble mode. But here we are. There's nothing better. This, I may be, what do they call it? It might be an irony. Might be sarcasm. Might be foolery. And that's probably most of what it is because my number in the tarot, my life number is 22, which means I'm a fool for life. And I am a fool for life. I keep coming back to this place and I keep wondering, like, why? Wow. It was pretty good on the other side. You had a lot of friends, you know. There were things to do up there that didn't involve bloodshed and torture and human beings and stuff. You got to be up there with people like, whoa, I ain't going back for a while. That's like some intense stuff going on down there. And I would say especially currently, I don't even know what the intense stuff is because I don't have a television. And you could say I have a radio because I have a radio in my car. I just don't play it. So you can have a radio. You could even have a television. I do have a television. Actually, one of my good neighbors, like a good neighbor, they decided to offer me a television. And I thought, why not? And he said, it's great because it has its own antenna. What TVs have antennas? That's like something out of the 50s. But anyway, this TV had its own antenna. And so it was gifted to me. And I actually set it up at my cabin. It's still there. It was only plugged in that first morning. And then I got lost in this cop show. Cop investigation of some crime or something. And I was like, whoa, I got to watch this. And I went, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't even need to finish this one episode, even though it may be the only television show that your television gets when it's kind of like pulling these signals out of the universe and playing this one television program. Even though you only get one television program, you still do not need to watch it. So I did shut it off, and I'm guessing that was a year or two ago. So I would be misrepresenting myself if I told you I did not have a television and I did not have a radio. I have both. I have a record player, for crying out loud. I not only do I have a record player, I have records, mainly from the 60s and 70s, where we felt like the best music was happening. And some people today feel like the best music was happening then. And others feel like, nobody feels like it was the 80s, I don't think, except for maybe Queen. They might have been the 80s, and maybe Bruce Springsteen was the 80s. I don't know. I had children in the 80s. All I listened to was like Rafi or something, who was some like children's music player. And then the 90s, which I think was the grunge, partly was the grunge thing. And that was, some people feel like, the greatest time period of music, even though most everybody who were like kind of famous in that time period kind of exited at a young age. Probably, I understand, I did watch a few documentaries, and I think it's 28 years of age that most, and Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, a whole bunch of other people exited at, I think, 28, which is the Saturn return. All right, talk about exiting. So I was just going to pull one card. Maybe if I just pulled one card today for you and me, because we're part of the oneness. So why do we need a bunch of cards? I was just planning on picking one card and then getting a lovely card and then just reading it and going like, everything is beautiful in some way. And you know why it's a special day today? Because it ends in Y. I wasn't going to say any of those things, but I said both of them. Oh, well. So, and there goes the phone. It's dinging. Somebody's letting me know. They probably landed. They probably let me know that their plane just landed. And they're now in the Seattle airport waiting on a shuttle that they're going to take to here. And that would be like the High Priestess. And yeah. So, now it shows up on my screen of my computer because, of course, our phones and our computers talk to each other. Who knew? Who knew that they communicated things like somebody could call your phone and your computer say, oh, don't miss this, it's really important. And you're like, really? Yeah. Like 1984 was a good year. I was there. I kind of remembered. I read the book on it. All right, so tarot reading. So I was just going to pick one happy face card and just say everything's beautiful in its own way. This is your card for today. Just enjoy the blessings of the cosmic universe flowing through you in rays of light. But instead, I had an intuition. It was like one of those voices in my head that said, no, 3 cards. Past, present, and future. And I went, I hate these arguments inside myself. Like, I'm just going to pick one card. No, you're going to pick 3 cards. It's like, who's the boss of me? But of course, if it's all you, then you're the boss of you. And whoever wins is the boss. And all those kind of things that can go on, maybe not everybody's mind, but some minds who think outside the boss can have these arguments with themselves. But anyway, the boss of today is picking 3 cards. Looks like I had more. So better than 1 card. You know what I mean? Okay, so picking 3 cards, and the card we got, lucky you and me, for the past, so it's behind us now, is the Tower. And the Tower is the symbol of the universal principle of healing. Renovation, if you've ever done that, it can be a healing experience. It can also lead to divorce. You never know. And restoration, because this card looks so violent, like everything's just falling apart, you look at it and go, oh no, not the Tower card. And then you can just change your attitude, young woman or young man. Just change your attitude. Not have such a bad attitude. It might be your bad attitude that's causing everything to fall apart. Maybe if you create a reality inside that was peace and love, and you radiate that out to the outside, everything wouldn't have to fall apart. So you just take responsibility for everything seemingly falling apart if you're seeing that. And if you feel like everything's falling apart, you're probably making that up. And you and I'd be making it up together. Whoops. Okay, We may not even publish this one. We may not publish one of these videos today, or we may publish all of them just for fun. Okay, so the Tower card, because this card looks so violent, has often been misinterpreted. The Tower is a symbol of the change and awakening that is required to dismantle that which is artificial, false to fact, or conditioned within our natures. The Oriental Fire-Eating Dragon. So this book was written in the late 80s, before Oriental was one of the words that had been taken off the list and replaced by Asian. But because I'm going to stick to the text as it was written, and because it might mess with some people who are trying to make me become woke, which I don't think is happening. So, but I'm going to go ahead and say the Oriental Fire-Eating Dragon is the spiritual fire or life force that requires that we dismantle and restructure old forms within our personality. So we're just changing ourselves, so it's not as bad as something else. So that what is actual and true within our nature can be restored and expressed. Whatever is crystallized or not truly a part of our nature is burned or thrown out of our personality. Whoops, that's the Tower. Okay, the four figures flying in the air are representative of old mental, emotional, intuitive, and physical ways of expressing oneself that are outmoded and are no longer a part of the authentic or essential self. So the Tower, this is our past card, the principle of restoration, renovation, destructuring old forms. Okay, 1 down, 2 to go. So, well, put the marker back in the Tower in case I need to take a picture of it later. I can find it. Okay, then card number 2. I probably already showed it to you. Yeah, I think I did. But anyway, I'll show it to you again. The present is the Empress. And the Empress is the principle of love. With wisdom is the Earth Mother. So as the Tower is falling apart, the whole world's being restructured by higher vibrational consciousness represented by the Empress. From a quote from, or not a quote because he didn't say it, but he wrote it, so it doesn't have quotation marks, which I think means he spoke it. He might have too, but he wrote it. His book, The Road Less Traveled, is named Scott Peck. He said, "Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth." The Empress is the principle of love with wisdom. She's the symbol of humankind's ability to extend love and to receive love. The Greeks referred to this symbol as Demeter, the Earth Mother. Mythically, this archetype is also seen as Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, and creative power. In Jungian psychology, she is the anima, the feminine nature. Behind the Empress, the moon shines through the veils that fall from her crown. The moon is the Western symbol for feminine, magnetic nature. She is the goddess principle, or that what the Orientals, or Asians, for the woke people, would refer to as the power of yin energy. Okay, so if you want to today, you can focus on love. And that's what we're working with in the present. And I definitely could shift my focus from where I was at earlier, in the earlier videos, which you probably won't get to see. but you might. I just don't know. We could have a vote. We could have everybody who are following me, which got to think about that. I'm following him. But what does it mean to follow somebody? It means to just make sure they just don't fall off the edge. Hey, 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 watch that curb, watch that curb. Which is the Earth Mother. Watch that curb. Okay. So the future, what we're moving into is the High Priestess. And for that is another not quote, because it's not spoken word. I got to find out if a quote is something somebody said. I think that's what they mean. They quote somebody because they said it. If they wrote it, then they don't get those special quotation marks. It's just plain. So this is from Kahil Gibran, the prophet, which I read. Really read it a few times. Really liked it a few times I read it. Might want to read it again. But I guess he said in the book, I don't remember this quote, but he said, "For self is a sea boundless and measureless." Boundless and measureless. I like that. The self is. So the High Priestess card is the principle of intuition, self-trust, and self-resourcefulness. High Priestess represents the universal principle of intuition, independence, self-trust, and self-resourcefulness. This is an androgynous figure who archetypically represents balance. From the navel up, the figure is all curved lines, soft magnetic, yin, and receptive. From the navel down, the figure is all straight lines, strong, dynamic, yang, and assertive. This archetype serves as a reminder that we have all these archetypes. It doesn't say that, but that's what came into my consciousness, so I might be channeling now, so listen up. What this points out to us is that language is the means we use to communicate thoughts. So if you were to have someone, we might call them the illumined Adis or the illumined ones. If someone were to make up a word, and it might not be them, it might be one of the other names that made up the word. I don't know who made up the word. I'd love to trace it back to who was the one that says, let's tell people that the illumination of their consciousness is represented by a term woke. I'd like to meet that person who just came up with a term that was so, to me, so ridiculously stupid that would really test the intelligence and the consciousness and the intuition and awareness of people who actually used the term as if it meant something. Oh, we're the woke ones. It's like, really, I'm glad. And may it be so. May it be so. Maybe you woke all over the place. All right. So here as I'm reading this, my stuff comes up. So it talks about I think it doesn't say, but the yang energy, I think, is referring to the male energy. I kind of like make a bull's signal of a bull or an elephant. But anyway, a symbol of the male energy being really rigid and straight-lined and assertive. And I think it's just not representative of men. I think it's representative of one of the energies. And I think yin or ying, sometimes they say yin, sometimes they say yin yang. But yin, I think, refers to a little more fluid movement. And I would say that we're moving from a kind of patriarchal society, really male-driven, forceful, you'll do it or else kind of energy, into a more feminine, what's good for the whole energy. And so when I read it like that, then it feels right to me that we're moving out of patriarchy, possibly moving into matriarchy. And would you rather have the person says, wait till your father comes home, or the father that comes home. I don't know what that means, but that was a threat that I heard for the once as a child. Wait until your father comes home. It's like, whoa. All right. So that's enough, really. The principle of intuition, self-trust, and self-resourcefulness. So I think that we're all going to find it beneficial to become more resourceful and trust our intuition and tap into our deep self and feel the peace and the calm of our deep self. Not that I necessarily was feeling that peace and calm through these many videos that I made today, but maybe when we get shaken up, then we start to feel that energy and it expresses itself, and maybe until we come to integrate that energy, maybe it's just valuable to not be ourselves, not be the person we perceive ourselves to be. Let that energy, the tower, let that energy crash, let it restructure, and let us emerge out of that restructuring in a new consciousness. And what will that consciousness be? Be creative. Be intuitive. That's the future we're moving into, is that intuition, that creativity, that trust of something larger. And boy, those might have been some halfway decent words to end things with. So that's the reading today. Could it have been better? Possibly. Was I impeccable with my words? Possibly. Did I do my best? Possibly. Did I not assume? Possibly. And did I not take it personally? I haven't heard back from you yet, so we'll see. All right, that's it. I hope you have a really great 10th of April, and that we see each other again sometime, someplace. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe here. Now let's go.